I never thought a birthday could end a relationship. It was supposed to be simple. Just a small celebration with people I knew. Music in the background. A cake, some laughter, and a night that would pass like any other. But somewhere between planning everything and sending out invitations, I made a decision that I thought meant nothing. I invited my ex, not because I still loved him, not because I wanted anything to restart. I told myself it was harmless, just a name on a guest list, just someone from the past who no longer had any power over my present. At least, that's what I believed. When I mentioned it casually to my partner, I noticed the change in his expression. Not anger, not a reaction, something quieter, something deeper. He asked me calmly, "Why him?" And I laughed it off like it wasn't important. It's just a birthday. Don't overthink it. But I didn't realize that sometimes people don't answer immediately because they're already starting to understand something you haven't yet. The days passed, but something felt different. He became quieter, not distant in a loud, obvious way, but in small ways. Short replies, longer pauses, a kind of silence that sits in the room, even when someone is physically there. And I ignored it. I convinced myself everything was fine, because in my mind it was just an invitation, just a guest, just a past that had no meaning anymore. Then the night of the party arrived. The house was decorated. Lights were warm. Music played softly in the background. Friends came in, one after another, filling the space with energy that felt normal. Almost too normal. And then he walked in, my ex. For a moment, everything inside me paused. Not dramatically, just quietly. Like the air itself had changed. We exchanged a polite greeting. A small smile. The kind you give when you want to pretend the past doesn't exist anymore. But I could feel it instantly. My partner saw everything. He didn't interrupt. He didn't react. He just watched. Quietly, carefully. Like he was trying to understand something without asking a single question. I tried to stay present. I really did. But I started noticing things I hadn't noticed before. The way my ex and I spoke too easily. The way old familiarities slipped into new conversations. The way laughter came without effort. And every second of it, my partner was there. Not saying anything. Just observing. And I began to feel something I hadn't felt earlier. Discomfort. Not because I was doing something wrong in that moment, but because I suddenly realized how it might look from his side. Still, I didn't stop it. I didn't think I needed to. Then everything shifted. My partner walked toward me. He didn't look angry. He didn't look emotional. He looked decided. He gently held my hand for a moment, like he was grounding himself more than me. And I thought maybe he was going to ask me to step aside, talk privately, maybe express what he was feeling. But instead, he said something I will never forget. "I hope you're happy." His voice wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was calm. And somehow that made it worse. He let go of my hand, turned away, and walked inside. A few minutes later, he came back with my bags. Right there, in front of everyone, he placed them near my feet and said the words that made everything inside me stop. "Go marry him instead." For a moment, I couldn't even process it. The room went quiet. Not because people chose silence, but because no one knew what to say. I tried to speak, but nothing came out properly, because deep down, I realized this wasn't a sudden reaction. This was something that had been building long before tonight. something I didn't see or didn't want to see. I followed him outside. He wasn't angry. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't even looking at me at first. Just standing there, like someone who had already said everything in his mind long before this moment arrived. Finally, I asked him, "Are you really doing this over one invitation?" He looked at me for a long moment before answering, and what he said wasn't loud, but it was clear. It's not about him being here. It's about what it meant that you didn't think I would feel anything about it. I tried to explain. I said it was nothing. Just a birthday. Just a past I didn't care about. But he shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "That's the problem. It was never just anything." And then he said something that stayed with me longer than anything else. I wasn't competing with him. I was just realizing I was the only one trying to protect what we had. That silence after his words felt heavier than anything before. Because I finally understood what I hadn't before. It wasn't about my ex being there. It was about trust, boundaries, consideration, things I assumed were understood, but never actually protected. He wasn't leaving because of jealousy. He was leaving because he felt unseen in decisions that mattered to him. And when someone starts feeling unseen often enough, they don't always fight louder. Sometimes they just stop staying. He picked up his keys, looked at me one last time, not with hate, not with anger, with acceptance. And then he walked away. No dramatic ending, no final argument, no turning back, just distance. And in that moment, I understood something I wish I had understood earlier. Relationships don't end in big moments. They end in small decisions that someone finally decides not to tolerate anymore. That night, I didn't just lose a partner. I learned that love doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades when care is replaced by assumption, and when presence is taken for granted. And sometimes, by the time you realize it, they've already left quietly enough that you only hear the silence after they're gone.